Kandimalla is my very good friend. Many friends, as we all know, are good weather friends. That means they are with you when times are good, and when times are bad, they are nowhere in the vicinity. Ashok has always stood by me in my times of need. As you all may be aware, Ashok Kandimalla writes for Smart Photography and has been doing so every single month since the year 2009. He has been instrumental in upbringing the level of the magazine, both technically as well as aesthetically. So I'm always very grateful to him. Ashok Kandimalla has been in the field of photography for over 3 decades and has extensive experience in both film and digital photography. As an electronics and computer engineer, well, actually, he holds a degree in electronics from IIT Madras. He has a unique and deep insight into the digital photographic technology. Ashok has a passion for sharing his knowledge through teaching and writing. Many of his articles have been published in the Viewfinder, which is the official journal of FIP. He was also a co-editor of FIP's Sapphire Jubilee Viewfinder book. So far, he has published more than 200 articles, plus equipment reviews in various leading Indian photographic magazines. Ashok has also conducted over 100 workshops and photography courses for several corporate customers like Honeywell, Bank of America, Infosys, etc., and UNESCO, of course. Currently, he conducts workshops and classes regularly at Mindscreen Film Institute, that is known as MFI, in Chennai. He was the president of Telangana Photographic Society in 2018. He was also an invited speaker at the FIP convention in Rajamundry. Ashok has been interviewed and featured on the Nikon Japan Centenary website for his contributions to photography. He is the only Indian to be thus honored. Today we are extremely fortunate to have him with us. He is a mountain of knowledge. And the good thing about it is he never boasts about it. He is really the encyclopedia. And even I, as the technical editor of the magazine, often call him up, ask him for his help, which he does very happily. I'm always grateful to Ashok. Ashok, please carry on. The stage is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Before we will start with the presentation by Ashok Kandimalla ji, today our Chief Advisor Anil Lisal Singh has given the responsibility of releasing the November issue of our DCC bulletin. So let me share my screen and do this job. I am doing it for the first time, sir. Bless me.
सर थोड़ा एनलार्ज कर लीजिए
कर रहे चिंता करो ना बाबा আমি করবি চিন্তা করো না Okay, friends, first let me tell a few words about the bulletin. एक मेरी जिद थी कि हमारे क्लब का हर महीने में बुलेटिन निकले. मुझे कुछ नहीं आता था कि बुलेटिन कैसे निकाले, बट एक जिद थी कि नहीं निकालना है. So I started, I think, in the month of June or July this year with 3-page bulletin, with only 3 JPEG pages. But gradually it grew up, and today we have got a wonderful shape. Initially, I was working very hard for this, but now I have got a second hand to support me, that is the Siddhar Biplo. So
नहीं सर, आप इतना करते हैं, मेरा कुछ नहीं है सर.
we both discuss and then we finalize the bulletin. So here is our latest bulletin for the month of November. In this bulletin, mainly we cover our activities during last month, that is the month of October. Okay. And this bulletin is around 41 or 42 pages. And the cover page, I'm very happy to get such kind of cover page where you can see the matching cover photograph with our bulletin color theme yellow. And it's the golden oriole female clicked by our very senior photographer from Karnataka, Sri H. Satish, who is also the president of YPS. Then in the next page, there is a content of all those articles in the bulletin. This is our executive body having chief advisors, Sri Anil Risal Singh sir, advisors Barbara Smith, Brian Hopper, and all. And this is a president message. Every month I write something, and mainly I concentrate on the achievement of my members. And if there is any special thing, that too I cover. Like in this message I have covered that we are working hard to launch our website, that is dhanbadcameraclub.com. Already we have purchased domain name, and already the HTML page has been designed. And I think by tonight, the website under progress will be launched by tonight. And the website address will be dhanbadcameraclub.com. We are lucky to get .com. This is the activities during last month, that is October. I myself presented the one of the series of Janskar Valley trip as 35th CVA DCC photo webinar. And then this is the bulletin of the October month launched by our chief advisor, Sri Anil Risal Singh sir. Then other club activities during the October 2022. I'm very pleased to let you know that my second book, Advanced Photography, was launched by our chief advisor, Sri Anil Risal Singh sir, on 3rd of October at the same platform. Then we had a 19th DCC photo walk in the village Birenchi under Tundi. And it was attended by around 6-7 people, and it was a wonderful experience. This is the images coming out from the photo walk at Birenchi. These two images are clicked by me, Then these two images by Subra Datta. She is a member of our club, and she is a cinematographer in Bollywood. Then these two images by Biplo Sikdar. I'm very happy. He's very good in creating black and white images. Carry on, Biplo. And then this is the HTML page of our website. And HTML page has been designed. And today it will be launched in the night. And credit goes to Subir Adak, who is a IT professional in the company where Sikdar Biplo is working. Then the achievements of our members during October. As usual, Barbara Smith, I do not know how she gets so much time. And every month she gets a few hundred acceptances and in multiple of 10 awards. And every month, not this month, I'm watching her for last 15 months. So last month she got 256 acceptances, including 26 new titles, because new title is also very important. And 38 already mentioned, 10 medals out of 10, 7 gold, my God. 2 PSA, 1 GPU gold, and 4 other gold, plus 1 silver medal, and plus 2 bronze medal. A big applause to Barbara Smith She is not here because she has gone to Bravia with some assignments. So big applause to her. And these are the two images which got gold medal. Next is Sita Nath Paul. He is one of the very active member of our club. And every month he is also getting a lot of acceptances and awards. Last month he got 92 acceptances. It's a great credit. And then 10 awards. 10 awards, gold 3, ribbon 3, honorary mention 2, diploma 3. And these are the 2 awarded images of him. And one more thing I will tell my friends, because Sita Nath Paul, he participates every month in the photographer of the month. So for the jury, it's very difficult. I tell the jury to select top 10. Out of top 10, 7 to 8 images are of same person, Sita Nath Paul. So then again I scan it and take the top 3 without any repetition of the author. And then the achievement during last month by me, the review of my book, the first review was published in Studio News, reviewed by our chief advisor, Sri Anil Risal Singh sir. And then it is being sold in Amazon and Flipkart. At Amazon, just 2 days back, I saw a review by Saurabh Bhattacharya, and it's a wonderful review. And this review gives me quite energy and a feeling of happiness that whatever I have done, a senior photographer like Saurabh Bhattacharya, who is ARPS and EPF Gold and all, and he is appreciating, means the book is worth for the photographers. Then planned activities during November and December. Today we are having a session with our Ashok Kandimalla ji. And then next month we will have another photographer from Germany. He's the Frank Hausdorfer. And his main photography is in the field of photojournalism. And we try that we invite the guest from different variety of the fields so that your members gets benefited in a different genre of photography. This is a regular article compiled by our chief advisor, Sri Anil Risal Singh sir. And this month it is on the Kumar Sukhdev Singh. And see, quite a long back, I think he belongs to a landlord family, but his work I have seen. And to tell you, he's technically and aesthetically very strong. And particularly, he works in landscape photography. Most of the photographs are having a unique subject treatment and approach. Hats off to see Sukhdev Singh ji, sir. And you can see his images, all in black and white, but see the play of light and shadow. In this photograph with Shepherd, we can see his way of unique treatment of the frame, and that there is a well balanced with the foreground, midground, and background, having contrast also. So it's wonderful. I like this image very much. And it was compiled by our chief advisor, Sri Anil Risal Singh sir. And every month he is doing this support for our magazine, bulletin. Next, I am also writing photo story for the bulletin for last couple of months. And this month I have I am presenting the photo story, the form and colors from Jantar Mantar, Jaipur. This is only from Jantar Mantar, Jaipur. It's wonderful location. I will request my members to must visit Jantar Mantar, apart from other places like Hawa Mahal, Amer Fort and all. This is just behind the Hawa Mahal. And then our technical partner, Center for Visual Arts, we conducted first travel photography as an experiment in Bodh Gaya last year. And I was surprised to know that a lot of participating members got awards, including gold, and so many acceptances. Almost 12 awards they got from the last year's workshop. So inspired with the such kind of achievement by the participating members, the Center for Visual Arts has planned the second travel photography workshop at Bodh Gaya from 15th to 19th. Last year it was 3 days, 2 nights, but it was not sufficient for all the members. So this time I have made it 5 days, 4 nights.
Very nice.
And the main attraction of this workshop is I have got some tie-up with the Bhutan monastery, so that our members, participating members, can go and shoot the mask dance very freely. Apart from that, the head monk of Bhutan monastery will be our chief guest, and there will be a photo exhibition also, having 5 prints from each of the participants. And Threes Kapoor Saab is our co-mentor. I think he's the main mentor, I am the co-mentor. Let me correct it. Then comes photographs. We also bring out the photographs clicked by the members every month. We do it intentionally to see that the members, they take out their camera every month. It's not that they keep it in the almirah and once in a year or 2 they take out the camera. So with this kind of concept, every member is taking out the camera every month. These 2 images are by Sri Anil Visal Singh sir, and everyone knows he's the master of form, textures and colors. And I can tell you, जिस तरह से इनका विजुअलाइजेशन होता है, हम इनके साथ जंस्कर वैली भी गए हैं और हमने देखा है, हम लोग एक ही जगह पे 4 लोग खड़े होते थे, तो हम लोग कुछ और देख रहे हैं, ये कुछ और देख रहे हैं. तो इनका जो विजुअलाइजेशन है वो इनके अंदर में इनहेरेंट है. वो जहां भी जाते हैं वो कुछ नया चीज ढूंढ लेते हैं. और खास के जो इनकी खूबी है कि he goes very in the landscape, he goes very close to the landscape. Mostly landscape means we think wide angle, 10 millimeter, 14 millimeter. No, he goes with the 70 millimeter, 100 millimeter, like that. So this is his exceptional quality. Then this is the 2 images clicked by me. Recently I had been to Sarai Kila, one of the you can say senior civil judge, Kranti Prasad ji invited me, who is also present during this webinar. And he took me to one place, it is very close to his Bangalore. And there I saw every day morning, we were shooting only sunbird. And then we went to one Santhal tribal village. We got some time, maybe around half an hour. So we got some good frames. These are the images by Braj Mistri ji. And Braj Mistri ji, he is a great, his potential, his energy level is very high, because apart from managing his studio, his commercial works, and the management of the Niharika Photographic Society, he also finds time to click the images every opportunity. I think in Ahmedabad he never leaves any opportunity to go and click the image. These are the 2 images by our members, Braj Mistri ji. These are 2 images by Jyotirmay Yadav. He's from Lucknow and he's improving a lot and going ahead. He also gets awards and acceptances in the salons. These 2 images by Ashish Gupta from Bokaro. These two images by Sitanath Paul. He is a very active member of our club. Another by Sakat Chattopadhyay. He is also very active. Apart from photographer, he is also an actor, director, a script writer, and whatnot. Okay, so he is a multifaceted artist. And then these two images are by Deepak Thakore. He is from Ahmedabad. These two images from Biplav Sikdar. I'm watching his work. Day by day, his visualization is changing. And that's the beauty. The second image speaks something about his unique visualization. I'm very happy. Best of luck, Biplav. Then apart from photographs, I thought the painting is also the medium of representing art. So I invited for last couple of months the photographers in my contact to give their paintings for the publication. And we are getting every month at least 4 to 8 paintings, because this is also another format of presenting art. The two images, two paintings, first paintings are by Priyanka Mittal, then Nikita Singh. Then these two paintings by Dr. Subrajyoti Bhattacharya. He is from Bakura. He is a very good artist. He is a doctor by profession. These two by Vijay Nanda Biswal from Nagpur. And his paintings on the railways are fantastic. Hopefully, I think in 2023, he will be our guest to present his work on paintings. Then we have got out that CVA DCC platform for the conducting webinars. So their members also, we are asking them to share your work clicked during last month. These two works by Kira Modesty from Indonesia. This is by Akhil Hardia from Indore. This is by Prasanto Kumar Das from Kolkata. Sudeep Rai from Kolkata. This is Puneet Katyam. This is Ajit Joshi from Gujarat. Amit Shah. Chitra Joshi. It is very important to tell you, Chitra Joshi is the wife of Ajit Joshi. And this is the first couple I have seen. Both are very active in photography, very active. Both of them are very active in photography. They move around together, they click together, fantastic. This is my Praveen Jaggi. I think he is present in the webinar tonight. And this is the photographer of the month result that we have already seen. These are the certificates. These are the winning images. These are the media coverage of last month's activity. And this I started 2 months back to keep a record of all those, you can say, our guests who presented on this platform, and make a chart so that we are maintaining it. We started on 29th August 2020. And then we have reached today as 36th GCC photo webinar. This is a page for registration in case anyone wants to become the member of the Dhanbad Club. He can fill up the form, send it to the email address given here. And our annual membership is very low, just rupees 1,200 per year, April to March. This is the back cover page, a wonderful image, I think from Janskar Valley by Sri Umesh Gogla. And he's I think, one of the 10 topmost landscape photographer in the country. He's a fantastic. We have traveled with him during last year, Janskar Valley, and we have seen his style of working. Hats off to him. Thank you very much for watching this bulletin. I think Sir, I took too much time compared to you.
No.
Huh?
It is fine. It is fine. Perfectly fine, Mukesh.
I think, okay, so I'm stopping sharing my screen.
Wonderful presentation.
Thanks, friends. I think this was, I think Anil sir gave me opportunity to get me trained for this job also. Thank you, sir. And now the time has come for which we are waiting for last couple of minutes. And today, our guest, Ashok Kandimalla ji, you have heard about him from our senior photographer of Indian Mehta, sir. I have interacted with him. The one thing that Uncle Roni told, that technically he's so strong, but he does not have any ego. I interacted on some of the article written by him, and we for quite a long time, and I felt it. He doesn't have any ego. The man who writes article every month for such a prestigious national photographic magazine, Smart Photography, he doesn't have any ego. He is very plain thinking, very open-hearted. He discusses everything very openly. And I not only regard such people, I love also. Ashokji, I love you also.
Thank you, sir.
Now it's time for him. So I'm making you co-host, Ashokji.
Okay.
You are now co-host. You can share your screen.
Okay,
and
sir.
just we are waiting to see your amazing deliberations. Over to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to thank DCC and Mr. Mukesh Srivastava for giving me this opportunity. And also thank you, Ronnie, for rather flattering introduction to start off.
No, it's excellent.
And I was also delighted to see Anilji here, though his very presence makes me a little nervous. And, so I ought to be on my guard and not take a step.
Don't say like this, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So before we start, there is also one, what should I say, a confession to make that my Hindi is hopelessly bad. Not bad, it's hopelessly bad. So if there is any language issue, I request Mukesh to do the
Ashokji, guest at this platform is free to use any language. Okay.
Okay.
English is very common for everyone.
Yeah, then it's fine. I don't think we'll have a problem.
And sometimes you can use Tamil also.
No, Tamil, I don't know Tamil. I am not a Tamilian. But
Yeah.
anyways, so
Okay.
let's move on.
Carry on.
Let me share the screen first.
Yeah.
I hope this is visible to you, all of you now.
Yeah. It's visible.
Okay. Sir. Okay. So the name of this presentation is Perplexing Perspective. That's because perspective is something which is very, very common, but at the same time, it can be a little bit of confusing and also contradictory in very nature. Plus, to add to the problems, many wrong concepts float around in people's minds because quite a lot of books and quite a lot of internet articles wrongly describe what perspective is. So let's see what it's all about. Okay. So I always prefer some sort of a interactive presentations. So I always give this old Chinese proverb that he who asks a question is a fool for 5 minutes and the one who doesn't for the rest of his life. So it's better to clear off the doubt right then and there itself, because if you don't do that, it will come back to you at a very bad time.
Okay.
Ashokji, just I'll hold for you for a minute.
Sir.
Friends, although in the sequence of proceedings, I have mentioned that in the end, you will take up question and answers. But considering that kind of this presentation tonight, everybody is free to ask any question during presentation, because
Absolutely.
unless you
Absolutely.
ask during the presentation, your concept will not be clear. Okay, and it will be much more interactive. So don't hesitate. You can ask during the presentation any question you want to ask. Okay, carry on, Ashokji.
Okay. So the last point, number 3, is what my professor in IIT used to tell me, that only stupid questions are those which are not asked. Okay. So any question you ask is a good question.
Yeah.
So that has a little bit of the background. Let's move on a little bit. Before we start anything regarding perspective, or we start something about photography and the role of perspective in photography, just let us do a small mental exercise. Let's say we got into a very high-rise building, and we are looking outside through a glass window. Okay. So what do we see there? We see let us say a typical city scene where you have some buildings, some near, some far, some trees near and far, some roads, etc., etc. Now let us say you take a sketch pen or something like that, and you start sketching onto the glass exactly what you see in front of you. Okay. So in the end, you have the exact scene as that. I mean, you forget about colors and all that, but you see exactly what you saw through the glass. Okay. So there are two things important in it. The first and the most important thing is what is in front of you has depth. That is, there's something near to you, something's far away from you. Okay. Whereas the one you sketched on the glass has no depth at all on it, right? You can't, if you take a photograph which is flat, like on a monitor or a print, and also on the glass which we're considering, there is no depth in it like this. Okay. There's no depth. It is just flat. Okay. So what we have done is we have taken something which is three-dimensional to look at, and the real world, three-dimensional, the buildings near and far and trees near and far, and you put them somehow on a flat surface. Okay. Technically, that the way you did it is called a projection, where you took a 3D object and you made it into a two-dimensional object. Okay. So the depth is no longer present on the flat reproduction you have made. So what you've seen on that glass is really the perspective projection of the three-dimensional scene in front of you. Okay. There are many types of projections. Some of you have done some engineering drawing must have read about orthometric projections, and then what do you call isometric projections, and so on and so forth. But we need not go into all of that. But what I'm trying to say is perspective is a way you take a three-dimensional object and you project it onto a flat object. Okay. So that's the technical background about it. And in fact, the name perspective itself has a bearing on that. We'll just see that little later. And next, what is the other important thing? The other important thing is things which are closer to you look bigger, and the things which are away from you look smaller. Now, this is such an obvious thing that I don't think I need to even tell you this, but that is another characteristic of perspective, where things that are close to you are bigger and the things which are away from you are smaller. And this is used a lot in photography, as you all know, and we look at that also. Okay, fine. Now, we have done a sketch on the glass, which is two-dimensional. Is it really different from a photograph? No. If you stand at the same place, and instead of a glass, you move the glass away and you take a photograph, that's exactly what you capture on the photograph also. You've taken a three-dimensional thing and made it into a photograph, which is flat once again, and it has the same characteristics. That is, you projected a 3D image into a flat photograph, okay, which is a print or a screen, and then consequently, things that are close to you are bigger, things which are away from you are farther. So if you look at what I've told you so far, this is really nothing new. I'm sure you all know about this. It is very simple perspective what it means. But at the same time, it can play some tricks on your eyes, and it can cause some wrong ideas in people's heads. Let's look at little more on it. Okay. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Okay. Okay. So what I would to say at this stage is that every photograph you take is a perspective projection of the scene. It can't be anything otherwise. Okay. You cannot take a photograph that does not use a perspective projection. It's impossible. You just can't do it. Okay. Unless you get into post-processing and you do some changes into it, every photograph you take is a perspective projection. Yet it can be quite confusing. Okay. With that as a background, let us look at what exactly a perspective means with a formal definition. Okay. So the formal definition of a perspective is see-through. Okay. That's exactly why I gave you the example of a glass plate and you try to a glass window and you try to do it. Okay. So what does Wikipedia say? It's a representation of an image as seen by the eye, which is in 3 dimensionals, onto a flat surface. Okay. So we looked at the examples of a glass or a monitor or a print. All these things are flat. Okay. But what is recorded in them is not flat. So what we are doing is we are somehow converting this 3-dimensional subjects into flat surfaces. Okay. So what are the important characteristics of this? Okay, smaller the size objects as the distance from the observer increases. Okay, even if there's a very big building, it is very far away from you, or a mountain that looks very small compared to the subject which is very close to you. Fine. Okay, there's another perspective which is not very common. That is what is called as foreshortening. Okay. Now, foreshortening is a little difficult to explain, but you can very easily visualize in a picture. Okay. Now we have the scale over here, for example, which is about, let's say, 6 inches or something like that. Can you tell the length if it's like this? You can't. Okay. That's what we call as foreshortening. Okay. Only when it is at exactly the right angles, you will be able to make out the proper width of it. As it tilts towards it and exactly in line, it's impossible to tell what is the size of the scale when it's exactly in front of the camera. So why is this important is it is often used in portraiture, though people perhaps don't call it with that particular name. Okay. If you're photographing a person with a very long nose, for example, and you want to make sure that that long nose is not apparent to the front, you should not photograph the guy with his face like this, where the nose projects quite a lot like this. By turning him towards the camera, the nose will not look so long, just like the scale did not look so long when we turn it towards the camera axis. Okay. So it's the same thing with ears. Some people have very big ears. So if you take a frontal shot of them, the ears will stick out. But if you turn them, then there's a possibility that you can make the look smaller than what it is. That's all also a part of perspective. Okay. Though it is generally not taught that way, that is also a part of this. So we've seen what foreshortening is. That's another characteristic of perspective. And another thing is, of course, which is very, very common, smaller size object as the distance increases from you. Okay. Now, this is the most important point, and that's exactly why I put it even in red color, is that perspective is not distortion. It's very, very, very common. People say, in fact, some of you may not even agree with me, but what I'm saying is kindly believe that what I'm telling you is technically correct. Now, colloquially, it may not be the way people use it, but I would like to tell you what exactly it is. So I will stick to what I'm going to say, and it is not distortion. Okay. Though many people say it is distortion. So let's take some more examples and let us see how this whole concept of perspective came into existence. Okay. Now, strange as it may seem, people did not understand this perspective right from the beginning. Okay. Especially during the time around 1200, 1300 at that time, people had no idea about this perspective. Okay. So you would often seen paintings like the one which is seen on the left side. If you see this, you can find out there's something odd about it. There's one guy at the back who's looking very big in size. There's a horse which is very small in size in the front. The whole thing is a little jumbled up. And even Mughal paintings, if you look at it, generally the most prominent person, the king or whoever it is made to look larger, and everybody around it is look smaller. So with the result, it looks a little odd. One guy is standing on top of the other, it looks like, and you can't make out the sense of depth in this at all. So there is a little bit of history behind it. And then finally, there is this person, Filippo Bruscinelli, or whatever his name is, some crazy name. So let's forget about that. But this guy, he did think that there is something wrong in the way people are envisaging things. Okay. He was also a architect and an artist. If you see the history, during these periods, the architects and artists were very close. In fact, Michelangelo was also a very great architect as well as an artist. Same with many others also. Okay. So this man tried to work out the mathematics behind it. And then he finally, he drew some rectangles like this. And then he realized that the rectangles, though they're perfect rectangles and squares, as they go recede from the observer's eye, the squares are no longer squares, but they're becoming trapezoidal in nature. That is, they're narrowing ahead above it. Okay. So he says there is something behind it. It is just not that things are becoming narrow or something like that. And he worked out the underlying mathematics. Okay. If some of you are engineers with, and you have done some engineering drawing, so perspective is also taught, because it is very, very vital for the architects to clearly understand how perspective works. And if if you've gone to an architect and ask him, please design a house, he will probably present you at the end with a perspective view. This is how your beautiful house is going to look, and he's going to show it to you. That is a perspective projection, what is going to show you. Okay. Okay. Now, what is the photography? What has all this got to do with photography? First of all, we are all photographers. Okay. Now, as I already told you and repeated again and again, in photography, images captured or displayed or printed, whatever it is, are always in 2 dimensions. So the lack of 3 dimensions in a picture means you cannot really tell which is in the front and which is at the back. Strictly speaking, you cannot. Okay. I will show you one example also and show it to you why is it. So what happens is the perception of depth has to be created somewhere outside it or somewhere by other means of it. Just by looking at the flat thing, you just cannot tell. Okay. Now, this is the last point, is something very important. You automatically know that something is in the front and something is at the back, not because your eyes tell you, because everything is flat in a picture, right? But your brain is actually telling you what is in the front and what is at the back. Okay. So that may sound a little funny once again, that why am I using even, don't I know when I see a photograph with a rock in the front and the mountain at the back, don't I know the rock is in the front? It's so obvious, you may say. But no, it is actually the brain which is helping you to determine that. So let's look at this in a little more detail. If you show you an example, it will be very easy. Look at this very simple picture. Okay. Now, if I ask you this question, which is given at the bottom, why is this person taller than a hill, which is in the front? Okay. Are you looking at a giant who is really taller than a hill? Or is this guy just closer to you than the hill? I think probably most of you will say, what a stupid question. Okay. But that's a question I would like to ask, and probably all of you will answer. It's quite obvious, man. He is a guy standing very close to you, and that hill is a little to the back of it. But I will tell you something, it is not your eyes which is able to tell you that. From this picture, you really cannot tell which is in the front and which is in the back. It's really the brain which is helping you. So to prove that point, I want to show you a very small video. So let me play this video for you. Okay. Sorry. Okay, let me play this. After playing this, I will tell you what. Please look at this very simple scene of some tables and cups and all that on it. Okay. And chair and table and so on. Kindly observe this very carefully. It's a very short video. Okay, let me play this to you. It's a very short video, only a few seconds. Observe carefully what is happening here. So what do you say now? Our eyes, our brain is tuned. There's a table and a chair means they're of the same size. If they're cups, they're all of the same size on the table. That's how our brain is telling us. From the picture, you were not able to tell whether chair is small or the cups at the back are big. You can't because it's all flat. Okay. So now, of course, in practice, you will not come across a situation like this. But what I'm trying to tell you is that in practice, in real physical world, you have seen most of the things and your brain automatically is playing and telling you which is big and which is small. And that is something big. If it's appearing to be small, it only means it's very far away from you and it's not close to you. Okay. So it's the brain. I will not call it a trick. It's the brain which helps you to determine which is front and which is the back on a flat subject. There's no other way you can do it. It's impossible. Fine. Any questions so far? Or any, what do you call, any doubts so far? Or
Friends, feel free to ask any question.
yeah,
Because
please.
it's a very, very important topic being discussed.
No questions?
No, carry on.
Actually, I am wonderfully explaining or nobody's understanding. Okay, let me.
No, no,
I don't know
Yes,
what
sir.
is the
You are,
truth.
sir,
You
you are
are
explaining very well, sir.
Let me see what. Okay, now let's look at this. This is a very, very common picture on the left side. What is this? You go near a tall building, you stand near the foot of the building, you point the camera upwards, and you take a picture. So what do you get? You get this building leaning backwards like this. Okay. And now many, many places they call this as distortion. Right? Now look at this second picture on the right. This guy is looking really funny, right? His face is bloated up, his nose is very big, his cheeks are pumped up and so on and so forth. So, and if you recollect any portrait class, if you go to, they will tell you, please do not use 20 millimeter, 24 millimeter, 35 millimeter to take a tight head and shoulder portrait. I'm sure you heard of that. They say, no, 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 you use a portrait lens, 85 millimeter above. So you get a good, nice picture. Right? You must have heard of that also. Fine. So let's look at one more thing. We'll come back to this, what is what. Okay, look at this. This is another very common scene. A railway track goes on merging at the infinity. So it is very popularly called the vanishing point. Okay. So you all know these train tracks are parallel, otherwise the trains will fall down. Right? So nobody calls this distortion. At least I have not heard anybody taking a picture, oh, this rail track is completely distorted. I have not heard anybody saying that. But I heard many people saying this building is distorted.
Yes, yes.
I've also heard many people saying that this picture, if you take a portrait very close, your face will get distorted. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
But I will ask you one question. What is the difference between the picture on the left, which is a building leaning, and this rail track? One is a flat and one is vertical. That's all. Both are manifestations of perspective. The one which is close to you is big. The one which is away from you is smaller. So if you take this building, the bottom and the top, these are actually practically vertical side. It's a building is a squarish building, a rectangular building. So the bottom is big and the top is away from you. So that looks smaller. And when you join them with straight lines, it looks as if it's leaning backwards. Okay. Same is the case with the one on the right, though it's a little more tricky to understand this. You're taking the camera very close to this. This fellow is my friend. He told me never give this picture to anybody else. I said, okay, done. So if I give you the presentation also, I won't give you that picture. I'll give you the rest of it. So I went very close. Actually, we took this picture to show perspective only. That's the reason why it was taken. So you go very close to this guy. The nose and cheeks are right. You are very close to the camera. That's why they become very big. Now, perspective is the same whether it is you're talking about inches or you're talking miles. It's the same physical thing, the same mathematics lies behind it. So now you agree that from today onwards, at least for my satisfaction, maybe you should not call these as distortion. Okay. So this and this, all these things are same. They're all manifestations of perspective, which you would naturally see in your life. Okay. Now, what is distortion? Did you mean to say there's no distortion at all anywhere in the world? No, that is, of course, it is there. Okay. Oh, before that, let's look at one more slide also. So how does this whole distortion business all depend upon? Okay. So basically what we are talking about, there are two distances. There's one distance between the camera and the foreground element, and one distance between the foreground element and the background element. So I'm just calling it distance 1 and distance 2 to make it easy. Okay. If you look at the very small equation that is beneath this, I can't see it for some reason, but it is this ratio of d1, d2 is the one which causes all the thing. Okay. In fact, you can do this experiment very easily yourself, and you can see. If you take your thumb and put it in front of your eye, and you look at some very far away subject, your thumb will look smaller than the far away object. Let's say building, or a tree, or a tower, or something. And as you bring the finger closer and closer to your eye, your finger starts getting bigger. And ultimately, it will be so big that will cover the entire building. Report. So what is happening here? You are just the D1 is being decreased. Your eye is your camera. So you are decreasing the distance of D1, and whereas D2 has not changed, it's the same thing. So ratio of D1, D2 is drastically changing. This is the one which manifests itself everywhere. It manifests in different forms and confuses people. But the principle is the same behind it. You can go and look at the moon and put your finger very close to your eye. You will not see the moon, but you all agree that your finger is definitely smaller than the moon, right? There's no doubt in anybody's minds. Okay, fine. Now, what is distortion? There is distortion in the lenses, but that's not related to that. Here, distortion actually means that if you take something which is like a grid over there, and if you photograph it, it reproduces exactly the same thing without any square as a square, then you say there is no distortion. Okay. Otherwise, you are very familiar with wide angle lenses exhibiting barrel distortion, and telephoto lenses normally exhibiting pincushion distortion, which is sides squeezing together, or barrel distortion. This is a defect in lens. This is not perspective. Perspective is not a defect in the lens. Okay. All you need to do is a little go back. Perspective is changes, which I'll also show you with some more examples. Okay. So this is distortion. So now let us look at this distortion a little more. So this is a very classic case of a pincushion distortion, barrel distortion. You use a low quality lens or something like that. You take a photograph of columns and things. The sides will get bent. You can very easily see it is like this. Okay. So this is definitely distortion, as that arrow mark points out. So if you put all these things together, you look at this now. So this 1, 2, 3 are not distortion. They are an effect of manifestation or an effect of perspective. Whereas the one which is at the bottom right is actually the distortion, where you can see these columns are bent, like a slightly curved. That means your lens is not reproducing straight lines as straight lines, and it is free. Now look at this building on the left of this picture. Is the lines bent anywhere? No. This is actually a pretty good lens with practically very, very little distortion. You can see the lines are absolutely straight. There's no distortion, no curvature in the lines. So this is a very distortion-free picture. There's no distortion at all in this, or very, very minute that you can't even make out. Okay. So I hope I was able to bring out the difference between perspective and distortion in this particular picture.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, this is an absolutely fantastic set of pictures, which I copied from a Nikon brochure, a very old brochure. Nikon's old brochures used to be very informative technically. I think then they later thought people are not interested. I don't know for what reason they stopped putting such pictures. They only put some pictures here and there, and they don't explain very clearly what is technically what's happening. So what is going on here? Let's see this. We have this very attractive young lady wearing some bright red color dress, And if you look at all the 4 pictures, approximately the size of the lady is the same in the image, in the picture. Whereas the first picture has been taken with 20 millimeter lens, and the last picture has been taken with almost a super tele 400 millimeter lens. But the photographer has moved away and away as he used the longer focal length, with the result the size of the lady sitting in front of this fountain or whatever it is approximately the same size throughout. So what do we observe over here? So what is happening here? The subject size is same, and the background of the lady and the lady is also same, that the D2 is same, we are not changing it. But the D1, that is the distance between the camera and the subject, which is the lady, is being changed continuously. So the D1 is changing and the D2 is not changing, right? So what is the effect of this? Let's see the effect of it. You see, we start with 400 mm. You see there's a fountain behind that lady. What is happening to the fountain when you took the shot at 220 mm? She has completely covered it up. Why? Same thing as your thumb.
Right.
That has become close to you. This lady is now very close to the camera. With the result, she's dominating above it. And she has covered up a lot of background. Whereas as you move away and away, this D1, D2 ratio is getting altered. With the result, the background slowly starts gaining prominence as you move away and use a long focal length. There is also one more thing you might have observed. The background also tightens up as you go backwards and use a longer focal length. Okay, fine, we'll come to that in a moment, but I would like you to observe these 4 pictures a little more closely and see what I'm talking about. As you go away closer and closer and closer to the lady with a shorter focal length, she starts dominating more and more, just like your thumb starts dominating over the larger object in the background. When you go away, the domination reduces and the background starts getting more and more prominent. And the background also tightens up. What we mean by tightening up is, if you take the picture, even if you keep the subject size same, use a longer length and go backwards, the background coverage is tightened up. It doesn't cover the same thing. You see the left side picture with a short focal length, it covers a lot more area, whereas you take a longer focal length and move backwards, it reduces. So why is this important practically is, sometimes when you're photographing, you may find a lot of clutter in the background. If you want to eliminate the clutter in the background, and if conditions permit, you can simply move backwards and use a longer focal length, and you can automatically cut away the clutter which is bothering you in the composition. Okay, so that's one practical application of this particular thing. So I would like to ask you a question. Is this clear about this particular picture? Because this picture is a very important picture, because we are going to go to another picture which is somewhat very similar to this, but unless you get a very good idea about this, that won't be very clear either. So that's why I would like to pause and ask you, is there anything which you would like to know about this picture? There's 4 pictures together actually. Of course, there's a description also on the right. And how that as you change the distance D1 between the foreground element and the camera, how the perspective is changing.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's fine, sir.
It's wonderfully explained, sir.
Thank you. Right. Now look at this another very interesting picture, also taken from Nikon, another Nikon brochure. So what is this? Here, very, very important. The man did not move. The photographer did not move. He was standing at the same place. But he zoomed. He changes the focal length from short to long. Now, very carefully observe the relationship between the foreground and the background. That has not changed this time. Whereas in this case, it has changed quite drastically as he moved back and forth. Here, the focal length has changed. All the elements in the picture have increased in size, or all the elements in the picture have decreased in size. One didn't become big and one didn't become small. That's the important difference between changing the focal length and changing the perspective. And how did we change the perspective? By moving.
Moving.
So simple as this, to change the relative size of the subject and the background, you have to move. There's no other way. If you change the focal length by zooming or whatever way it is, then all the elements in the scene will increase or all the elements in scene will decrease. But the relative sizes will not change. I will tell you one small incident about this, just for the sake of the practical application of this. I was teaching this in one workshop somewhere, and one lady got up and said, she's a wedding photographer. And she said, this is very interesting and I wish I had known this before. Her practical case was, she was photographing a wedding. You must have very commonly they have a flowered arch like this in the front. Okay. And then there was a couple stand in front of it. And she wanted a particular size of the couple versus the size of the arch. Maybe she wanted them to be around, etc. So the mistake she did move is she didn't portion either the people or the distance of the camera. The D1 part she didn't touch. She stood at one place and changed the focal length from 20 to 200 or whatever it is. But she did not get the right ratio between the foreground and the background because she did not move. So that's the practical thing. You can control the relative sizes of the thing by asking the model to move or by or moving your camera to the subject. But standing at the same place and keeping on changing, zooming or increasing or decreasing the focal length is not going to change the relationship between the person and the background. So this is a key takeaway from these two things which I'd like to emphasize here. Summary, to change the relative size between background and background, you have to move. Okay. And likewise, if you want to increase the entire thing or decrease the entire, all the elements and thing, you have to change the focal length. Okay. I often hear you don't use zoom lens, you use a fixed focal length, your photography will improve. I'm sorry, it won't improve. You understand the difference between the two. What is happening when you change the focal length? What is happening when you move? There are two different things. Each has a different effect.
That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
This is my favorite model, teddy bear, which is very faithful to me. Is always at the same place. I'd ask her to sit at one place. It sits at the same place. It doesn't move, doesn't protest. It doesn't do anything. So what did you do here? Fine. So this is my home. There's a parapet wall. I put the teddy bear on the parapet wall. There is a building. There's an empty plot and there's a building behind it. So I took this picture with a telephoto lens and fine. That's very simple. And now what I did was, let's say the distance between the camera and the teddy bear is 6 feet. I stood at the same place, did not change the position of the teddy bear, but now switch it to a wide angle lens and took another picture. Now it's very obvious that between the two, if you look at it, this is a wide angle lens. And so naturally the coverage of the area has become more. The teddy bear, the subject distance has become smaller because it's I'm at the same distance, but with a shorter focal length. Now look at the picture C, bottom left. What did I do here? I now use the same short focal length lens, but now I moved forward so that I approximately get the same size as the before of the teddy bear, as in A. That is taken with a long focal length. Compare A and C now. The size of the teddy bear is approximately same.
Same.
But what is the size difference between the teddy bear and the grill in first one and the second one?
Change.
In second one, the teddy bear is much bigger than the grill. Same effect. The D1 has now decreased because I moved forward to get the same image size with a shorter focal length, and the teddy bear starts dominating over the grill and it looks much larger in this one, though the subject size is same. Okay, this is exactly what we see in the pictures with that red lady, red colored dressed lady. Okay, now this D is actually the very interesting part I want you to see. Okay, so what is this? I have taken this picture B which is taken at the same distance as A, and now I cropped it simply. That's all. If you ignore the depth of field for a moment, is it any different between D and A? The relative sizes of the grill and the teddy bear are exactly same.
Same.
That's because I did not move. Both were shot, A and B were shot at 6 feet. So the perspective did not change. That means the relationship between the foreground and the background did not change. Whereas when I moved in C, it has changed. Okay?
Right.
Sure.
Okay. Now let's move on to another example. Okay, now I think you're all familiar with this sort of a things. You're all expert photographers. So here, as you know, we are trying to create a sense of depth in a photograph. So what has the photographer done here? He has used a small rock in the foreground and there's a mountain at the back. So it's very simple. You all know rocks are smaller than the mountains. Okay, that's the brain telling you, incidentally, not the photo telling you. Okay, you've already seen that. So you immediately know the mountain is backwards. And same thing here. How are we conveying the thing here? Here the steps, front steps are large in size. Some 4 steps are higher than the turret over there, the ramparts. And the 2, and you all know the staircase is normally parallel and it's converging at the other end. It's reaching a vanishing point. So that only means that the distance between you and that particular tower, that fort, is quite far away. That fort is quite far away. That's how we created the depth. But once again, I'm telling you, you really are not telling that from the picture. You are telling that from the picture, of course, but with some inputs from your brain, that you know that rock is smaller than the mountain and steps are smaller than if they're converging. So it means that just like a railway track, it is far away. That's the conclusion you have come to because of our normal intelligence we have. If that relationship is disturbed, like the small video I showed you, we could get into wrong conclusions because there's no other reference to us available. All right, now let's get into this portrait business. Okay, now the left side is a portrait of a statue I took with a very wide angle lens, and I went very close. Now, what is that you observe over here? If you look at this face is a little bloated up. The forehead has become very large. That's because the forehead is close to the camera. Okay, fine. And the ear is also not fully visible, just like we saw my friend's picture. The same statue, if I took a shot with a telephoto lens, okay, and moved back, okay, and now I get a much more pleasing perspective. The forehead is not looking so dominating. The ears are fully visible. This head is, the front part of the head is not projecting out, and I get a much flattering perspective. Okay. Now, this is why people tell you don't use they tell you that use a short focal length and you will get a good picture. No, you are not getting a good picture because you used a short focal length. Short focal length, if you stand at the same place, you will take a picture of a nose or ear because it's a longer focal length. Longer focal length will force you to go backwards. That's what is improving your perspective and hence the picture, not the other way. Okay. Your perspective has not improved because you used 85mm lens or 105mm lens. Your perspective has improved because it made you go backwards, increasing the distance between the subject and the thing. Okay. So many people come to the wrong conclusion that using a longer focal length is giving you a better perspective. No, it doesn't give you. In portraits, you are moving backwards. That is why it is giving you a better perspective. Just like that, if you take from the same distance with a very short focal length lens and then crop it, it looks exactly same as the thing, just like I showed you with the teddy bear picture. Okay, now one person asked me, if that is indeed the case, why should I buy a telephoto lens? I'll buy a wide angle lens and then crop it. Yeah, you can, of course, you can do that. But then if you look at the picture, the left side, the top 2 pictures, you can make out that what is the size of if there's a 24 megapixel picture, how many megapixels have been used in the, after cropping? Maybe you
Yeah.
used not even 25%. Right? So you are what happened to the other 20 megapixels? You just discarded them. So consequently, the detail has been lost and the quality of your picture has reduced. Otherwise, there is no need for telephoto lenses. You can use 150mm lens and take pictures of birds which are 1 mile away also. Right? So whenever you're cropping, you are losing quality. You have to be aware of that. Okay, there is something called force perspective. This is not a right word, but it is very popular, so I used it. So what's force perspective? All perspectives are same. You don't force anything there. Okay. The same thing. You've gone very close to the subject, and of course the depth of field has been made a little blurry over here because the depth, it doesn't extend so much when you use such close distances. Of course, you can get around it by using stacking, etc. But this is very common to do. You must have seen these pictures, like people holding sun or earth or putting cars in front of some surroundings and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, another practical issue which I want to show you is this picture. Look at this picture. Now, these are all my friends, and you can see me from the second person from the left. Incidentally, this mountain picture was taken by this black-shirted gentleman, Satyaprasad. Okay. So we are all friends. We just met once one day. Okay. Now, what is this guy? He's looking double the size. Can you make out? He's actually the same height as me, who's second from the right. And why? He's coming to the front. By how much? Not much really, if you look at it. How much will be the arm's rest be? Maybe 2 feet? Because we are using a very short lens, we are very much to the front, he starts looking very big. So what is the practical application of this? It's very common when you try to take group shots in a very small room. Okay. And obviously you'll use a very short focal length, the room is small, and all will not fit in one line. So you make somebody stand in the front. Whom do you make stand in the front? The shorter people. Who are the shorter people? Normally kids. So poor kids are made to come to the front. Okay. And if the kid by any chance has moved a step or two ahead, he will look much bigger than what he is.
Yeah. Sure.
Or she is. So please be careful. When you are trying to photograph a group in a small room, you got to be very careful about this. Because if you make somebody come to the front, they look much taller than what they really are. Fine?
Fine.
So that's the practical implication of it. Okay. Now, leaning verticals, you know. So why did this leaning vertical occur? Same thing. Or beautiful D1, D2. D1 is very small because you're at the base. And D2 is very, very far away. The top of the building, which is some 4 stories or 5 stories high. So same thing. The far away things are looking smaller. That's all. That is absolute case of perspective. I've given a little bit of information here on how to correct these things. This is really not, that's why you have lenses that are called perspective correction lenses. Okay. So, or you can use these so-called technical cameras, which have rise and fall mechanism where the lens can be moved up and down. Okay. Or another way, you sufficiently go backwards so that the entire building is, you're able to capture without tilting the camera, or get on top of another building which is at the same level. All you have to do is you got to make this D1 and D2 equal somehow. Once you do that, you will not get this leaning business. Okay. Same thing here also. One more thing I want to tell you is you could do it in software very well. Okay. Now, all of us, unless we are professional architectural photographers, the still shift lenses are very costly. They cost a bomb. Of course, now there are some adapters also available which you can use, which are maybe 10,000-20,000 in that range. Okay. And one thing I want to tell you is if you are using software to correct it, you always have to compose with a little bit of leeway. For example, you see this picture. I'm not sure if this arrow will be visible. Is this arrow visible in your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, look at this picture and this picture. some part of the picture has been cut away here.
Yeah.
Okay, as well as here. That's because when you do this perspective corrections in Lightroom, which is with a particular command called guided upright, it will when it straightens, it will remove certain portions. Okay. So if you're having the intention of correcting in software at a later stage, the perspective, you have to keep a little leeway around it so that after cropping, it will still look okay. So you may ask me, why didn't you keep it straight and do it? I had, in fact, a fairly wide angle lens, 20 millimeter, but literally my back was to the wall. There was a compound wall and my back was to the wall. There's no way I could have gone any further back. That's the only thing I could get, or I don't get anything at all. Okay. So I'm a bit of a compromise type of a person. If it is getting nothing or getting something, I'll get something. We'll see later on. Something can be improved later on. Okay. Same thing even with very low light thing. Many people get scared saying that, oh, if you use ISO, noise will increase. Yeah, of course it will increase noise. But what is the other way? You use a low ISO and get a camera shake. A blurry picture is useless. Nothing you can do with it. Whereas a noisy picture, something you can do and get something out of that. At least that's my philosophy. Okay.
Great.
Now look at this. This is another interesting question. Suppose I show you a picture like this and ask you, what is the focal length I've used on this picture? Okay. So what is the answer? Is it a wide angle lens or is it a telephoto lens or something in between, or you really can't say? What would you answer?
Maybe telephoto.
Maybe telephoto.
Yeah.
Fine. Sir, I'm a very big cheat.
No.
I have to warn you.
We can't say, sir. No, we
Can't
can't say.
say. You can't say. Right. Fair enough.
Technical.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Doesn't matter. So let's look at this. What do you say now on the left side shot?
Yeah.
You'll definitely say this is a wide angle shot.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now you'll ask me the question, all this 1 hour you are being boring us to death saying that focal length is this perspective is independent of focal length and independent of focal length. And how can, the moment I can see, I can tell this is a wide angle shot.
That's right. That's right. Perfectly right.
So all this what you told is wrong? No. I do a bit of cheating, but not that bad actually. So what here has happened is, once again, you are able to tell what it is because of the surroundings.
Yeah.
Not taken in the absolute sense.
That's right.
Okay. That's why abstracts are so fantastic, because they lose the context with the surroundings. And I don't think I should talk about abstracts when Anilji is around. But in any case, I want to tell you, once you strip it of the surroundings, the context is lost and it is very difficult to tell what is what.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Agree.
Let's look at another thing. I've been telling, if you stand at the same place and use a telephoto lens and or with a wide angle lens and you crop it, there's no difference between the telephoto lens and a wide angle shot,
That's right.
because the perspective is exactly the same. Now you may ask a question. Okay, I will stand at the same place with a telephoto lens. Will I get the same picture like this with this sort of a perspective, like a wide angle lens, if I use a telephoto lens? It should be true also. If I keep telling you that focal length is complete and perspective is independent of focal length, I should get the same picture even if I use a telephoto lens as I've used a wide angle lens here. Okay. Now this is a little tricky. If you take a wide angle lens, you can make it look like a telephoto lens by simply cropping it. But how do you take a telephoto lens? It will show you only that rock. How do you make it look wider?
That's right.
The only way to do is to take number of pictures and join them together.
Join together.
Yeah. So if you take in this case, if you take these 9 pictures, I just given you as example, a longer focal length, and stitch them exactly with a proper, what you call as there is a point at which you will not get any parallax. Okay. There's another dispute regarding that also. Let's leave that for the moment. And if you stitch them exactly without any parallax, the shots, these 9 shots put together with a telephoto lens will look exactly same from the same spot as you took with a wide angle lens. In fact, I give this as exercise to my students, because they don't believe me when I tell them this. They come back and say, yes, sir, you are correct. It's indeed true. You take multiple telephoto shots from the same spot as a wide angle, you'll get the same wide angle shot. In fact, there is a very famous American nature photographer, landscape photographer by name Jack Dykinga. He used to use a large format camera to get a very, very high quality pictures. When things went digital, he started using a very long focal length lens of very high quality, something like 100mm lens for all his landscapes. Okay, you might have heard there is one device called GigaPan, developed by Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and that device, you just keep it firmly at some place. You align the entrance pupil very accurately, and then you press a button, it'll tick, 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 it'll pan left, right, up, down, and finish the panorama and give it to you. That's what it did. Because then what happens is, if each block is 24 megapixel just to take, and when we overlap, you are remaining only around 16 MP. But even then 16 MP, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 16 MP into 9, you are getting a picture of more than 100 MP. You can print maybe as big as a wall. It's still very, it'll give you a quality which is much higher than what a large format can give you. Okay.
Right, sir.
Okay. So let's come to the last few slides. So perspective for us as photographers defines the relative size of foreground and background elements. So moving closer to the foreground makes them larger compared to the background. Okay. So the D1, D2 determines it always. If you want to keep the foreground subject same size, a shorter focal length will cover more of the background. That's why I told you, if you want to reduce clutter, use a longer focal length, then go backwards. Okay. Perspective is dependent on the focal length. You must use your feet to change for perspective. Okay. Don't stand at the same place and change the focal length and think perspective is changed. It will not change. It's independent of the focal length. I showed you. You take a wide angle shot, crop it, it looks like a telephoto shot. When you take a multiple telephoto shots, stitch them together, it looks like a wide angle shot. The perspective will not change between the two. Okay. As a last point, of course, which we already addressed, changing focal length will not change the perspective. All the elements will become big, or all the elements will become small. Okay. So this concept, I would like you to think about a little more. And don't go by these cliches that you use fixed focal length, your photography improves, use manual mode, your photography will improve. That's all humbug. If you don't understand what is exposure, whatever you might use, you'll get the wrong thing. Okay. So likewise, same thing with perspective also. Fine.
Fine.
Great.
So this, I am going to send you this presentation. You can go through these few questions yourself and try to do it. What happens? And then perhaps you can go back and refer to it and get some answers, etc. That's it, gentlemen and lady. I think, I don't know if she's still there or not. I think one lady. And this is also another small clip, a little cartoon clip like thing. Have a look at this. So these guys are, washing a truck, small truck.
Oh, this is not a truck, sir. It's a toy.
So that's it. Once again, it is our concept. Truck is bigger, truck is bigger. So that's how it is. Fine.
Great, sir.
So thank you very much for putting up
Lovely.
with me for I don't know how much, almost an hour. This article actually written in more in text form appeared in Smart Photography in 2013, and also it appeared in FIP Viewfinder. After it was published in Viewfinder, Shivji wrote to me personally saying that he liked it very much, and it was something very interesting and which had brought out in a totally new way than what others generally explain about it.
Exactly, sir. Exactly. It is very interesting. In a very interesting way, you put all these things to make us understand.
Yeah.
Ashok,
So,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
You know that I love panoramas, and I don't use wide angles. I use a medium telephoto lens, about 70-80,
Yes, yes, yes,
and
yes.
join them. The same principle you mentioned about gigapixel, that device.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you tell us something more about the gigapixel device? How much it costs, and is it easy to use?
Yeah, it is not very cheap. In fact, I saw it with my own eyes only once in my life. Somebody bought an Hyderabad. There are 2-3 different models depending on the weight they can carry. They're available on B&H. I don't know what is the. I think the topmost model costs quite a lot. I think $1,800 or something like that. $1,800.
What is
But
it called? But gigapixel, what is it called?
it's called gigapixel.
It's called gigapixel.
Yeah. I don't know whether that thing is still existing or not. You can even do manually. If you're talking about 9 shots and all, it can be done manually.
I know, but
Yeah.
doing
But even that to work, Ronnie, you got to align it perfectly with the entrance pupil first.
yes.
So that headache is still not gone, but rest is automated.
Yeah.
In fact, this guy in Hyderabad, he stood some miles away with a telephoto lens and took one panorama of Charminar.
Oh.
He was very, very far away, and he showed me that you could actually count, you could see the position of the hands on the clock on the Charminar, and even the bricks. He could to show me, and cracks on the wall also he could show me, which he took.
Wow.
Yeah. There's so much of detail on it. Plus, of course, you have to upgrade your computer also, because you're talking about 200 megapixel files or 300 megapixel files. They can be very cumbersome to operate also.
True. Thank you.
अशोक जी मैं
Yeah, Umesh is there.
बहुत ही जबरदस्त आपका प्रेजेंटेशन था एंड जो गीगा पिक्सल की बात करी है रोनी सर मैंने भी एक बार जयपुर के हवा महल का और उसका
Sorry, it's not gigapixel, sir. I'm sorry. It's called gigapan.
Gigapan is the
Gigapixel is a
basically
Topaz
the-
software. Yeah, gigapan.
Yes.
I normally attribute this sort of goof ups to my advancing age. So please pardon me. It is the correct name is gigapan, not
Okay.
gigapan, not gigapixel is a software. Yeah. Any other
I
questions?
make 90 pictures gigapixel panorama
90 pictures.
Amir Ganesh Pol and files.
Now your voice is breaking up. I don't know who. I'm not able to hear. Sorry.
Oh, voice is breaking, yes.
Yeah, there's something with the network here.
Any other questions? Any questions from the lone lady in the audience? I think.
So I have a question to ask.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, for for taking a panorama, do we have to move parallel to this the main subject to get the same distance clicks?
No, you don't move parallelly.
Or we have to stand at the same point and we have to
You
move
have to
the
stand
camera?
at the same point, but when you're rotating the camera,
Sir.
you got to rotate it around what is called as the entrance pupil. Now you got to find where that entrance pupil is. Okay.
What does it mean, sir?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, center of that subject.
No. It is not the central subject. Your lens has inside it a point called entrance pupil.
Entrance?
Pupil. P-U-P-I-L.
Okay, pupil. And entrance pupil.
Entrance pupil.
Sir.
So you got to find where that point is. Okay. Now, how you find that point is there are some videos on YouTube, etc. You can have a look at it. Okay. So once you put that and a pan head and you rotate about it, normally the problem comes because most people rotate the camera on the tripod socket.
Sir.
Okay. If you put your camera on a tripod and you rotate it, you are rotating about the tripod socket of the camera. That's not the right place to rotate the camera. It has to be rotated around the entrance pupil of the lens. Entrance pupil of the lens.
We can say point of no parallax.
Yeah. It's basically, if you, like Ronnie says, if you don't do that, then you will get parallax. If you rotate it around the entrance pupil, you will not get parallax.
Oh, right, sir.
But
Thank you.
Just one second. That depends on the lens you are using. If you are using 3 different lenses, all 3 will have a different entrance pupil. If you are using a zoom lens, it changes at every focal length also. Okay. So you got to find that thing. There's a procedure for it. You can find in display in YouTube. There is one lens made by there's one Chinese company of late is just specializing in wide angle lenses. I think it's called Laowa. L-A-O-W-A. Laowa. They have one particular lens where this entrance pupil is already marked on the barrel of the lens. You just put it there and rotate it. They've already done the job for you. Yeah. Okay. It is not difficult to do that. I think Ronnie or somebody can also explain to you how to do that.
If anyone is coming for the Buransh workshop, I will show you that.
Yeah, we are waiting for you, sir.
Yes.
Mark, we are waiting.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do that, then you can also, there is one other method, actually. Don't keep anything in the foreground. Keep everything. If you did, the problem will come only with when the things or items are very close to you. Then only you will get this panorama, this parallax errors. Okay. Now what happens is, now the software also has become very, very advanced. So if you take 5-6 pictures in a panorama where the parallax error exists and you put it into something like Photoshop and you ask it to merge it, it will merge them, but then somewhere the straight line will start looking curved because it tries to somehow, fit and make it. Okay. So that may not look very, of course, as usual, once you get it, you can correct it also. That's also there.
Yeah.
I've also written an article on how to correct that curvature in panoramas.
Concluding your explanation, we must use the prime lenses.
Prime lenses for what, sir?
For the panorama?
No, not required at all. Not required.
We should not use the zoom lenses, you said, no?
No. I am saying if you are using a zoom lens, then the nodal, the entrance
pupil entrance
will change at each focal length.
That shall be very tricky, no? And cumbersome.
Yeah. So what people do is they'll settle for 1 or 2 focal lengths and only mark those. That's all. Generally, people don't recommend using very, very short focal lengths when doing panorama.
Yeah.
Generally, 50 and above is more sensible. Then turn your camera vertically, then you'll get a more coverage on the height, and then you use it for pan. That's why, of course, if you have a proper panorama rig, it simplifies your operation to a great extent.
So, thank you, sir.
But that's an altogether a different subject that will take as much time as this to go through all the things.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
We'll do that in Kausani, sir. When you come to Kausani workshop,
Yes,
plan this topic. You have to design that also.
Okay, any more questions from the participants?
Okay, it was a wonderful thing, and we must thank Ashok.
Yeah, Ashok, you can close your screen.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, so that we can talk freely.
Where is this thing now?
On the top. Stop sharing on the top.
That's what is not appearing anywhere. That's what I'm seeing where it is.
On the top center.
This Zoom always plays tricks with me. I can't see anything. Oh, it's here. Yeah.
on the top center of your screen, you will find stop sharing.
Stop sharing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm looking for that.
stop sharing.
Exactly. Sharing the screen. Stop sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has a knack of disappearing whenever I want it.
Scared of you.
So today we had a really mind-blowing session because even we are using wide-angle lens and telephoto lens, but the proper meaning of perspective versus distortion, it was explained by Ashok Kandimalla ji very well, very clearly. I think people have sharpened their knowledge, and definitely they will use it in the future to improve their photography. So wonderful session, Ashok Kandimalla ji. Anybody else, sir? You want to say something, Anil sir?
I would
I
like
think
to
Anil
thank,
sir, this article was actually published in FAP when you were
President.
editor, if I'm correct. Isn't it?
sir, it was wonderful session. Complex things made easy by your meticulous explanation using different pictures, etc. And I would like to thank Dhanbad Camera Club and Mukesh ji for bringing Kandimalla sir. And we had a very nice presentation and talk. And certainly we all would be benefited by Kandimalla sir's presentation on perspective and distortion. Thank you so very much, sir.
Welcome, sir. My only request, parting request is from now onwards, don't call perspective as distortion. So that is different. This is different.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully you will.
Yeah.
Of course, just my request that it's a wrong notion that floats around. So why use it? Yeah.
Kandimalla sir, normally we used to have you can say photo presentation during our webinar, but this is for the first time we had a very strong technical session, and we at Dhanbad Camera Club is very much thankful to you. Now I'll request.
Actually, so there are actually two modules in this set.
Yeah.
One is perspective and second is depth of field.
Yes.
That also is actually not dependent on focal length like this.
Definitely.
So
yes.
they're together, but they're also available in FAP. That's also a journal that also has been published. So you can have a look at it.
Sure. So now I'll request Braj Mistry Bhai to give vote of thanks. Over to Braj Mistry Bhai.
First of all, I thank DCC, Dhanbad Camera Club, and Mukesh ji and Anil Risal Singh ji. The programs, webinar conducted by them are very interesting, very helpful for photographers, and so many things we learn from the webinar. Also, I thank for the catalog in which all members' pictures are publishing. It is very useful, very great printing and composing. Today, Sri Ashok Kandimalla ji, you have given a very useful talk. Actually, photographers do not make photograph. It is perspective or distortion. Generally, we give all photographs as a distortion, but distortion and perspective are different, and there is no distortion, but it is perspective. It is the very useful talk. I think Sri Mukesh ji go on and give so many informative talks in the so thank you, sir. And
Sir, it's my pleasure and an honor to be among you.
Yeah.
To share a few ideas. Hopefully, it will be useful to you in one way or the other.
And thanks to all participants who participate in this webinar. Thank you all.
I will, sir,
Thank you,
Mukesh ji, I
Bharat.
will send you this presentation tomorrow.
Sure.
You can,
If you permit me, I will share it in the group.
yeah. Otherwise, why will I say? I mean, the only thing is I will have to remove some people's pictures from it because I can't distribute them. But otherwise, you can. I will.
Okay.
I will remove those pictures and send it. You can.
Fine. You can remove that picture of your friend, and then we can share in the group so that people can refer it.
Sure.
For their benefit. Thank you very much, Ashok ji.
Sir,
welcome, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I want to say something.
Oh yeah, please.
Sir, I want to request every participant to put their video on so that I can take a group photo of our webinar.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Your technical part is still there.
Okay, sir. Please kindly put on your videos so that I can take a screenshot. Indranil ji, Sudeep ji, or
Indranil Biswas ji, please switch on your video.
My video is on.
Yes, sir. Okay.
We can see you. We can see a smart face always.
Biswapriya Kundu, switch on your video. KK Saju ji, video on कीजिए. सुदीप रॉय, वीडियो ऑन करें. विश्वप्रिय कुंडू. Anyway, अभी ले लो, ठीक है. हाँ, आगे. Yes.
सुदीप जी, आपका वीडियो थोड़ा काइंडली ऑन करेंगे तो है.
सुदीप राय, वीडियो ऑन करो आप. विश्वप्रिय
जी, काइंडली प्लीज.
What a wonderful use of technology. People sitting in all part of the world can come together and you can photograph them.
Yes, sir. It's really nice.
KK साजो जी थोड़ा सा 90 डिग्री मूव कर जाइए. Yes, thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Take it.
It was a wonderful shot, sir.
Yeah.
It's really nice one, sir.
So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ashok sir. It's a really nice presentation, sir.
Thank you.
जैन साहब नमस्कार.
नमस्कार सर.
विमल जैन साहब नमस्कार. आपका वीडियो ऑडियो ऑन नहीं है. नमस्कार.
Thanks Ronnie. Thanks Sunil. Thanks Mukesh ji.
Yeah. I think we'll meet again in due course.
Oh no, we are meeting at Burash also.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you. Thanks everyone.
And we'll meet again next month. Good night.
Good night, sir. Good night.
Night.
Thanks, everyone.